I know from direct experience what it means to lose my compass and to seriously lose my way in life. And today I want to speak from that personal experience about some of what I see happening in our country and in our culture today. The first and perhaps most important thing that I learned is that life does not lie. I might lie, we might lie, we do lie. We all, in various ways, we do lie. But life is constantly showing us the truth of what we're doing, giving us reflections of our actions, consequences. We may ignore them, and life may even be very patient with us, giving us many chances to see the impact of what we're doing, to see where we're losing our way, to see where we're harming others, where we're harming ourselves. But the bottom line, if we continue to reject what life is showing us, life does not lie, and life will show us what's happening, whether we like it or not. And in my view, that's exactly what's happening in our country and our culture right now. So even though I may speak pretty sharply in what I'm about to say, I actually see this as a good thing, because things that we've been trying to hide and fool ourselves and lie about for many, many years, if not for centuries, are finally being brought to the surface. So the more serious our lives become, the more serious the reflections become, the more devastating the consequences. I was stopped in my tracks. First, a state regulatory agency, and then the FBI came knocking on my door and said, basically, you can't do this anymore. My life collapsed, as it, in retrospect, needed to collapse. And our country, our culture, is collapsing. I'm hesitant to make such declarations, but I don't see how we can look at what's happening in the world around us and not come to that conclusion. So many things that we have counted on, so many institutions that have kind of worked for a very, very long time are just not working anymore. So in my view, there are two choices. There are many choices, obviously, infinite choices, but two kind of fundamental, most basic choices that I see. One is that we can prepare for a collapse. We can prepare for the inevitable consequences of how we have been lying to ourselves as a country and as a culture. We can prepare for that. We can get ourselves ready as best we can. And we can, if my experience is any indication, we can be certain that it will come. Whether it'll be another 6 months or another 6 years or whatever, that collapse will come, because the untruths that we've been trying to bury, the nonsense that we've been trying to get away with, is all coming home to roost. And this seems to be, if anything, to be accelerating. So we can prepare as best we can for the collapse. We can store up our cans of beans and rice and do whatever we feel like we need to do to prepare. Or, if we actively want to face what is happening, the time has come to really face what is happening, and to be ruthlessly honest with ourselves about what we're doing, about what is happening to us, and about the ineffectiveness of everything that virtually everything that we're trying to do to resolve this. We have to begin to tell the truth. So let's start with some truths. From my perspective, truth is not an absolute thing. I'm just talking about truth from my perspective, both what I've been through myself and what I see happening in the world around us. First, no political resolution to this situation is going to work. There is no conquest, one side of the other. MAGA is not going to defeat the libs. The libs and the progressives are not going to finally prove how stupid and wrong MAGA is. We are all foolish in this mess. We are all foolish. We are all complicit. We are all in one way or another lying to ourselves and to each other, and we all need to face the truth of what is happening. We have lived with this grand delusion that America is the greatest country in the world and always has been a force for peace in the world, intervening to bring peace and democracy to other cultures. And any look at history will show that that's complete nonsense. Like so many things, there's a thread of truth in that. But our self-interests have been primary as a country. Our self-interest in the free flow of oil from the Middle East, the free flow of minerals and fruit and massive amounts of products from South and Central America. We have installed dictators in countries throughout the world for centuries now. And it's time to tell the truth about that. It's time to tell the truth that MAGA is lying. That the leader of MAGA is a pathological liar who didn't even pay his subcontractors what they were owed when he was doing business as a so-called developer. It's time to say that the Democrats and the progressives are lying. It's time to say that a higher minimum wage and better health care is not going to resolve what is happening in our country. The rot, the decay, the unhappiness, the fact that a whole generation is growing up in severe depression and hopelessness about not only their present, but about the future. If a good job and a good health care plan and a good house was all it took to be happy, then Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie would have been the happiest people in the world. It takes more than that. It's time for us to admit that the rot that is happening in our culture is not just economic. It's not just political. There is something deeper that needs to be recognized. There is something deeper that needs to be spoken to. You can call it soulful. You can call it a deeper meaning of what life is about. But it's time to admit that any political, any economic solution is not going to be the resolution of what's happening in our country. It's time to admit that MAGA does not have solutions. It's time to admit that the progressives and the Republicans, the progressives and the Democrats and the liberals, whatever you want to call them, do not have real solutions to what's going on. Throwing more money at homelessness, creating more entitlement programs without encouraging and insisting that as a culture, we are not going to survive if all of us don't get up on our own 2 feet and learn how to walk the walk of our own lives. It's time to stop fooling ourselves that anything on the table right now is an answer to the problems that face us. Do I know what the answer is to the problems that face us? Hell no, I don't know. What I have learned for myself is that you do not begin to find those answers until you come face to face with how clueless you are. We are, collectively. How foolish we have been and continue to be about how we're living our lives with each other, about how it's somehow acceptable to polarize ourselves, to judge and hate and despise our neighbors. This does not work. This is not an answer to anything. It's time to come to a deeper place within ourselves, a deeper understanding of what life is and what life can be. And we only get to that place, in my experience, when we finally admit how much we are lying to ourselves. It was a huge wake-up call for me when the wildfire swept through Paradise, California, and in just a few minutes, a whole town, city, I've never been there, so I don't know the particulars, but a whole city was destroyed, just like that. And I knew, something in me said, wow, life is really not kidding. And look around us, folks. Look at what's happening. Life is not kidding on so many different levels. Life is not kidding about climate change. Life is not kidding about political corruption. Life is not kidding about people sleeping under, whole communities sleeping under bridges. Life is not kidding that people have to go to GoFundMe pages to fund their heart surgery. Life is not kidding that teenagers have the highest suicide rate and highest depression rates of any point in history. Life is not kidding that probably a majority of our population is addicted to one drug or another, legal, illegal, alcohol, whatever you want to call it, to try to numb the pain of simply what it's like to be alive in this world. It's time to admit that we don't know what we're doing. And it's time to get truthful with ourselves. I had to get truthful with myself. Yes, I lied. Yes, I violated people's trust on a staggering scale. I had to admit that to myself. And to me, it's way past time, or it's the perfect time for us to admit this as a culture. How can we begin to come to terms with this collapse? This collapse is happening. If my experience is any indication, it will happen, because life does not lie. And when we as a human culture are living so far out of the truth, so far out of the balance, life will correct it. So we can either begin to prepare for this collapse as best we can, to salvage whatever we can, or if we want to participate, if we want to, who knows, possibly even be able to contribute to its taking a turn for the better, we damn well need to start getting honest with ourselves politically, honest with ourselves personally, honest with ourselves in how we're treating each other, honest with ourselves about the increasing pace of this collapse. What is life showing us? What are we missing? What are we lying to ourselves about? And what can we do if we're willing to use and show the courage to face our own folly, our own foolishness, our own fundamental disconnection from life and from truth? Can we begin to bring things back into balance? Of course, I could be completely wrong. I'm ready to be completely wrong. I'd be happy to be completely wrong. But what I see from my personal experience and what I witness in the world around me is either prepare for this collapse, or let's start getting really brutally, ruthlessly honest with ourselves about what we've done, what we're doing, and how we might need to change for things to go differently. Thank you for listening.